Hi internet, it has been an age since we last spoke. I have a number of excuses, some of them being boys, some of them being in reading and writing slumps, so not really prepared to make videos. Some of them being that my front-facing camera's smashed and I have to use the back one, and I've been lazy and I didn't want to set up the mirror, but then like it hasn't sun light source, so we don't have to worry about light even though I'm pale. I'm always pale. I'm used to this. I was going to try and set up the actual like camera that I have, but battery's dead and it only just occurred to me. Anyway, this video is going to be a wrap up for May and June for reading because I did a lot of it and I've tried recording this video a few times and shit keeps getting in the fucking way. Or someone records the whole video and it's not actually recording. That happened once. That was great. Or she does record it, then decides it needs editing, then decides to read a series. Wasn't good times. But now it's the 26th, technically it's the 27th now. So let's get into this. In the months of May and June, I have read 19 books, the larger percentage of that being in June. I was going to do a June wrap up, but I can't remember all the books that were May and June, so let's just mush them all together and take it from there. So the first book, which actually got me out of my reading slump, came out on the 2nd of May. And it's not surprising that this one did, because last year, the one before that got me out of a reading slump and a life slump. But the book is Akawar by Sarah J Maas, or A Court of Wings and Ruin, which is the third book in the Course of Thorns and Roses series. I love it so much. With this one, I'm tempted to give it like a 3.5 to a 4.5. This weighs regularly. Like, I really love the first half. The second half I have issues with, which I could get into more, but then would be here all day. It's like, I love it, I love the world, but I still love A Court of Mist and Fury more. It is still like my pinnacle of the series. This one I'm just like, I loved it, but at the same time, I have issues, you know? If you don't know, Court of Thorns and Roses is about Feyre, who lives on the human side of this great wall divide that separates humans and Fae. Her family's poor since her mother's died and her father got broken by debt collectors, and she has to go out and hunt to support her family, to get like furs and meat and whatever else. Anyway, one day in the forest, she kills a wolf who is also a Fae, and another Fae comes back in retribution, demanding that she return to the Fae side of the wall with him to live out her life because she killed the Fae. You get it? You get it. That one's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. The second one is a retelling of Hades and Persephone, and this one isn't a retelling of anything as far as I know, but I could be wrong. You should just get it and read it. I love it. It's my baby. I love it. And you should know about it being anywhere near BookTube, but you like fantasy, you like YA, get it. And then because of that, I was able to pick up a book that I have been trying to read for probably a year now. I read the first 4 books in the series, like one after another, and I loved it. And I got to this book and I had issues, and I kept trying to pick it up and reading chapters and pages here and there throughout the last year, but couldn't continue reading, and then I finally did. And that would be The Order of the Phoenix, or Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. I liked it. Once I got through it, I think by the time I picked it up again, they're at school, they'd met Umbridge, and all that had happened. So I was like really into the middle meaty stuff, and I could actually enjoy reading it. It's not my favorite of the series, buffer, because of all the issues that I had with it, but otherwise it was good. I can now say I've read all the Harry Potter books, because naturally the next one is The Half-Blood Prince, which I also liked. It's probably one of my favorite ones. And then Deathly Hallows, which is probably my favorite, just for a number of reasons. I feel like this one more made the entire movie franchise make sense to me. There's so many more questions that I had answered in this book than in the others. More stories in it that I enjoyed. Creature. I love Creature. Like, I didn't care about any deaths in the book. Like, maybe I don't care about Harry Potter spoilers. If you haven't read Harry Potter, read Harry Potter. You're gonna encounter spoilers. You should wait till I get to the next book before like continuing. I did care about Fred a little bit, but then Creature, I care about Creature so much. That was the point in the Battle of Hogwarts. I was like, oh my god, I could nearly cry because of Creature coming out. It was just magical to me, and I loved it. It was great. The next book, I once again picked up last year, read about 60 pages of it, and then put it down. And I don't know why, but I'm kind of happy I read it at this stage because I've made someone else read it by covertly like sending them pictures of text and pictures of the chapter names, and that is Magnus Chase and the Summer Sword by Rick Riordan. So this follows Magnus Chase. He's 16, has been living on the streets of Boston as a homeless kid for the last 2 years since his mother died, and you find out in the first couple of chapters that he dies, if not the first chapter. And this is about like he has 2 homeless friends that he's like good pals with, and this takes on after he dies, and it has Norse mythology in it, and it's cool. Find out that he has to retrieve a sword that his father lost like thousands of years ago. Just read it. It's just quirky, and his voice is so entertaining. It's a hilarious book. I constantly laughed while I was reading it. Like, the fact that I had felt so compelled to like send people things and read them things should be why you pick up this book. It's just, there's so many good things. I feel like I would rate just the whole series it and the other book as a 5 because I'm so like attached to it. Because the next one I read was A Hammer of Thor. I had to get this on audiobook and ebook so that I could read it because I wasn't prepared to wait for the book. But I do have one problem with this series. Look at that difference. If this ever comes out in this size, I'm buying it, but I can't replace this one because it's a signed copy. It's really good. Magnus's voice continues to be just endlessly entertaining. The good thing about this series also is that it has diverse characters. So you have the homeless kid, you have a character who is deaf and talks only in ASL, and it shows like how that can cause problems sometimes. It has a transgender character in here, it has a Muslim character in here, and it deals with like a lot of things. It also deals with like how people view religion and stuff like that, and how like the Greek gods can be thrown in with other religions, and I just thought it was cool how that was incorporated into the story. I loved it so much. Like, I can't wait till the Ship of the Dead, which comes out in October, and I'll be reading the shit out of, and then I'll let my friend read it. He's like, why should I buy books when I can just get them off you? And I'm like, this is understandable. I should take a second to note that a lot of my books I like to co-read nowadays, where if I can sit down and read, I will sit down and read it, but if I have to like do dishes or drive, quilt, because I got into that as well, I will listen to the audiobook. And like, people are confused, like, why would you double it up? And I'm like, no, because like I switch to the pages, read the pages, and then I go from there on the audiobook where I'll find my place, and then I'll go back and find my place in the pages, because it's not hard for me to do that. I kind of like remember where I've been, which is why I can pick up books a year later and just continue reading and know everything that happened. The next books that I listened to, the next 4 actually, were all audiobook. I didn't read them. The first 3, however, is a series that I always go back to. It's like my warm, comfy series that I always reread, listen to, and I only found this in the last couple of years, but it's Frontier Magic by Patricia C. Reedy. And oh dear God, I love this. It's a 13th child across the barrier in the far west, and this follows F. Rothma. She is the 13th child, which is considered extremely unlucky. Just bad. Like, a lot of people would drown a 13th child if it was born. Her twin brother Lan, who is the 7th son of a 7th son, where 7th son has a lot of power and luck. 7th son of 7th son, double that. You'd want to be a 7th son of a 7th son, really. Or a 7th daughter of a 7th daughter, because like, we don't know how that would go. This follows her from like the time she's 4 till she's 20 at the end of the series, but it's interesting to see like how both the children grow up with these expectations on themselves. They move away from where they were born to closer to the barrier. It's set in like post-Civil War America, but it's not America, and it's magic. It's called Colombia. I can't remember the name of it now. I'm forgetting things, but Asia is somewhere in Asia. I'm guessing China, because they have a Great Wall. Aruba would be England. And it's just entertaining to see like the magic system, the adventures, and dealing with like the far west that's still being settled and under attack by creatures, because there's a barrier that separates dangerous creatures so they can't go on to the more settled parts of Colombia. I love it. I love the magic system. I love the thought-provoking things that it sets in me. I love F's parents. I feel like this changed me a little when I read it for the first time, and I pick up different things every time I listen to it, and sometimes I have listened to it like 6 times in a row. It's just that good of a series, especially the audiobook. I love it. I only have the 13th child. I want all of them in hardcover, but like, I can't bring myself to spend like $80 to $90 on hardcover books that I've already read. That's gonna go away soon. It's like slowly leaving me. The next book that I listened to was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by J.K. Rowling, read by the guy who played Newt Scamander. I forget his name. I don't remember actors' names. That's just gonna be a thing that you'll realize, because it's that chick from that movie that played that thing. It was read by him. I liked it. I'd still think I'd prefer like that new pretty hardcover edition, but it was interesting. It kind of like quenched that little Harry Potter thirst that I had and Fantastic Beasts thirst that I had. The next books that I read was a series. I suggest you read this before you read Magnus Chase, but it is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So you've got Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, the Sea of Monsters, the Titan's Curse, the Labyrinth, and the Last Olympian. God, do I love these books. Them up and was waiting for them, which is why I listened to the other books in between. And then I read a book a fucking day, which is becoming a trend, a big trend. I loved Percy's voice as well. Chapter names once again are interesting. This follows Percy from the age of 11, I want to say, where he finds out that he is a demigod, which is half Greek god, half human, and he has to go to Camp Half-Blood where all the other demigods are, and also has to defeat the Thing because Zeus thinks he stole his lightning bolt, and Hades is also involved, and he's the son of someone, and real good. And then it follows through the years as more dangerous things happen, lots of more dangerous things, and it's great. I would say read Percy Jackson and the Olympians first, because there are minor spoilers in Magnus Chase, but I also get this pretty thing with all the book covers. I love how they all like fall into each other. But yeah, I would also suggest against watching the movies because they're terrible. But yeah, if you're gonna read it, read that first, then Magnus Chase, or the next book, next series, which I am gonna read, which also has Percy Jackson in it, but I can't remember the name of it. I keep going to call it the Gods of Olympus. I think it is a Gods of Olympus. I don't know. It's that series that comes after Percy Jackson. I've now become a Rick Riordan fangirl, which is bad, but also good, because now I get to join all the other fangirls. And if you think like you haven't read it, you've read it, you're like too late in life, you can't read it, or it's middle grade, why would I read it about 11-year-old? Just do it. It's fucking interesting, it's fucking good, and it doesn't feel like an 11-year-old at all. The next series I read has been on my shelf for a very long time. Like, I'm thinking 2 years, maybe more, because I know it was on my shelf before Clariel came out, and that was like 2016. Sabriel by Garth Nix, or The Old Kingdom in Australia, and I think A Porson in the US. So we have to go through these because they are about different characters. So Sabriel follows Sabriel. Her father is the Porson in the Old Kingdom. She lives in, I can't remember the name of the place, on the other side of the wall, where there isn't magic apart from close to the barrier. She has been at a boarding school since the age of 5, learning magic, learning all these different things. But one day she gets a message from her father. He has gone missing. She has to go find him because he is trapped in death. So she goes across to the Old Kingdom, where the king and queen have been dead for 200 years, and she's just running around being crazy. I'm not disappointed I picked this up. I think it is YA. Sabriel is a kick-ass female protagonist, and it's, I forget the exact term, but it's third person, but you get to see Sabriel's thoughts, but you do get to see things about other people and what she doesn't catch. It's a really good voice, and I liked it. And then the next book is Lyriel, which is some years after Sabriel. Lyriel is a member of the Claire, but she does not have the scythe Claire traditionally and see into the future. And this is how she's like struggled with it. She's always felt like an outsider, and she ends up having to go on this adventure and finds out some things about herself, and it's really cool. And she meets Sameth on the way, who is a prince and the Porson in waiting, but he doesn't necessarily fit well into that either. It's like these two people who don't know things about themselves finding themselves. And then A Porson is the next one in the series. It is good, and it follows Lyriel and Sameth as they go into some danger with some other people, and it's real cool, and you should read the series. Just trust me. Like, they're all kick-ass female leads. Like, I love it. And the last one I read was Clariel, which is actually the prequel to Sabriel. It says 600 years in the past, where the kingdom is still thriving. There's a king and a queen, Orsons, there's a heap of the Claire, and I liked it. Don't get me wrong, I liked it, but I feel like there was a lot of internal monologue and descriptions and not enough dialogue, and I like dialogue. That's like a thing that I thrive on. If there's too much of block text, I kind of start to check out and speed read and miss things. I did listen to the large majority of this while quilting, and I finished it today. It was good, but I want some more Sabriel and Lyriel. That's when I found out today that The Golden Hand is a book, and I have started listening to that because I don't own a copy, and I found out, like, these are all the same size, right? But when Clariel came out, I know it came out about this big, like pretty close to a hardback cover size. So I didn't pick it up then, I only picked it up recently because it was in this size. The Golden Hand is still in the bigger size, and I can't do that. So I'm waiting for it to come in the same size as these ones so that I can have them all together at the same size, because I don't like having mismatched books. I really don't.
The internet, it took me a few days to like edit this because I edited it, then I was having issues with the sound, and I'm losing my voice. But I finished reading and listening to Golden Hand. I still haven't brought it, and oh my god, do I love that book. But I still feel like I prefer the original 3, but I still like the last one. I don't know, I like it. I ship a lot of people in that. My OTPs changed when it came to Golden Hand, but there's just something about it that I think Sabriel is still my favorite out of the series, but I love Lyriel, I love Horson, I love Golden Hand, and I'm okay with Clariel. When it comes to Golden Hand, you definitely should read Clariel before you read that, so probably read Sabriel, Lyriel, Horson, Clariel, Golden Hand. So in the order that it was released, really, because that was such a good book for explaining one of the characters that is included in this book. That is the best I can put it, and I want to give you a description about it, but let's just say it follows the characters that have been put in the other books further on their journey. I think it's 3 months or 6 months after the end of A Porson. I can't tell you more without spoiling you, but I feel like if I listened to it more, if I read Golden Hand more, I would have preferred it, but because I had to listen to the large majority of it, I wasn't as big of a fan. And then I have also read 4 more books in that time after I finished Golden Hand. So let's just bump this up to what, 24 24, I think, because it was 19 when I said in here, so 24. The next book that I read was Crystal Kingdom by Amanda Hocking, which is the third book in, let me get them, the Canaan Chronicles, and is also the series that comes after the Tyroling, which is Switch, Taunt, and Ascend. I've read this after I read Crystal Kingdom, which should not be the way you read it. If you are going to read the Canaan Chronicles and the Tyroling Chronicles, you should read the Tyroling first, then read the Canaan Chronicles, because there are huge spoilers in this series for that book. So let's start with this. So the whole premise of the world is that there are trolls, and there are a couple of different tribes of trolls. I think there's like 5 or 6, and they all have slightly different attributes and things like that, and slightly different appearances, but they look human. Most of them are shorter, and I guess they have like some more endurance, some have mental abilities. They are really attracted to shiny things and will hoard them. But they look human, they don't look like little things with spiky hair. And in a lot of the kingdoms, they do still use changelings. So when a troll child is born, some of them, especially the higher society ones, will be left with a human host family. And something will happen to that other child. Some people leave them in orphanages, some of them raise them. But the child grows up in that host family, which is usually rich. When they become around 18, the trackers, as they are called in the troll world, will find the child and bring them back where they belong, really. And generally the child will bring back their trust fund with them for them to live off, to help the society, blah 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 blah. In the Canaan Chronicle, it follows Brian, who is a tracker. She has always looked up to Constantine Black, always wanted to be like one of the royal guards, until 4 years before this takes place, she catches Constantine Black trying to kill her father, and he nearly succeeds. So now she has lost the man that she's looked up to for her entire life, and is hell-bent on getting revenge, bringing him to justice, still wanting to be a tracker, still wanting to be the royal guard, but like going for it and not trusting people like she used to, because that seems stupid. I can't remember if she's like 16 or 18 in this, whatever. And shit starts to go down in the kingdom. Changelings are being kidnapped by someone who had tried to kill the king like years beforehand, like at least like 15 years before this all goes down. So we just follow it all along that journey. The first 2 books I read as they were published. This one I put off. I bought it when it came out, then I had a reading slump, so I didn't read it. And I've read it now, so that's fine. I kind of am tempted to go back and read all 3 of them, because although I do love this series, it's kind of murky territory in my head. Like, I know what happens. I know everything that goes down, and I know all the events, but it still feels murky to me. Even Crystal Kingdom, like some of the things just feel like, did I read that? Which doesn't happen a lot to me. Generally when it comes to a series, I might have to think on it for like 2 minutes, but then I remember everything. Whereas I feel like with this one, it's just like, for some reason, murky in my mind. Like I can't remember all the details for some reason, which is never good. But Brian is a real kick-ass protagonist, which is a big difference from Wendy in the Tyroling. So the Canaan and Tyroling are different types of trolls. So, you know, Wendy has grown up a changeling. So she always knew something was different about her. She lived with her host family. Her mother tried to kill her. Her father committed suicide. Her brother and aunt raised her. Then one day, some weird shit starts happening. Like, one of the trackers come back and get her, and she finds out, hey, you're a troll and you're the princess. Amazing. And shit's going down in the kingdom, which is why she has actually gotten early, because people are starting to fuck with their changelings and just the kingdom in general. So she goes back, has to learn about this life that she never knew anything about, while dealing with leaving behind the 2 people that have always stuck beside her. And I liked this book. The problem I had with this series is because I read the Canaan Chronicles first, I knew who was going to end up with who. I know that certain people were going to live. I know that love triangles weren't going to work out. That's kind of a thing that I didn't like about the story. So many different love interests. Same with Canaan Chronicles. But I'm more okay with it in that one than I am in this one. In fact, the OTP that I wanted in this series didn't happen, and that annoys me. But the OTP I wanted in this series happened, and I was already behind them because I knew they ended up together anyway, but that's beside the point, okay? It was beside the point. Multiple OTPs worked out, actually. There was one character that changes halfway through the series, like so severely that I have an issue with that change, but I also get it. but I have an issue with how severely the character changed. Otherwise, I like switched, torn, and ascend, but like just that one. I liked the character, I liked the way it ended, I liked all the relationships in this, but I don't like how severely that character switched. I would have liked it to be a longer process. Once again, I feel like some of this is a little murky for me thinking back on it, like the other series. There are certain words, like in both these books, I have been able to find like this one perfect phrasing for me that I'm just fucking in love with. And that is just amazing to me, yet I still have issues remembering the entire series, which is just really odd, especially since I just read them. Yeah, I think that's why I gave them like a 3, maybe a 5. I really did enjoy them, so you should pick them up and read them if you're interested in reading about trolls that aren't trolls. We can continue with pre-recorded. But yeah, anyway, those were the books that I read this month. I did start reading the first 15 Lies of Harry August, but I put that down halfway through. It was just like a lot of information and things. It is a good book though. I think I'm just like at that middle part, and then Percy Jackson came in, you know. The first 15 Lies of Harry August is about a guy who every time he dies, he is born back at his birth. And by the age of 6 has all his memories again. You can imagine how that goes. And the world is ending sooner and sooner, and that is being passed down the lines of the other people that are like him, which I like that series. I like that book. I want to say series, but I have to pick it back up once I've finished The Old Kingdom and see how I go from there. But I also want to read Crystal Kingdom by Amanda Hocking, because it's one that's been sitting there. I've read the other 2 books in the series. I remember picking it up like in the midst of the start of my reading slump, so I didn't get to read it. But I'm going to, or I'm going to listen to it, either of them. So that was a wrap up. I hope you guys have been having a lovely time. Let me know anything, and I'll talk to you later.